sponsor My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. Today's Ramble is sponsored by Wellstoned Landscapes. From lawn to luxury, creating outdoor elegance. Wellstoned Landscapes covers most areas of Yorkshire. If you mention the Ramble, you'll receive 10% off any work. Call Paul or find him on Facebook in the details below.
Like and subscribe to Blade Ramble.
What is happening? Well, that wasn't very smooth, was it? That was like a jump. What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is your countdown to kickoff for our next game, which is coming around. Well, it's not coming around very quickly. It's coming on Wednesday. However, we've had to have a little bit of a shuffle around with the schedule, and we wanted to get West Brom out of sight, out of mind. So we're doing this tonight. We're going to be going 3MB tomorrow night. We've got other things coming up on the channels, so we'll talk about that as well as we crack on. How are you all feeling? I want to know in the comments how things are now. I know things were a little bit... I think, well, the man who I'm going to bring on in a minute called it best by saying it was flat yesterday, or it felt flat. Not just the performance, not just the atmosphere, but it felt like that were like the pin in the balloon of our season, really, to a lot of us anyway, certainly a lot that I was speaking to. There were people upset and falling out in even in our platinum chat, and you know, you see it on social media as well. You know, we should have done this, and blame Wilder, blame this, blame that, and other. And we've always been a place, or I always want to be a place where we can come and actually on that point, and I'll ask. I'm going to bring Lee in a minute and we'll talk about this because it's worth mentioning. I've just had a comment land from 90 after 90 yesterday, and it was from somebody called Alistair McDonald. So shout out to Alistair, hope you're well. He says, love your channel, Jimmy, but when are you going to turn the focus on your beloved Wilder? His part in the lacklustre performances like this is barely ever mentioned in your shows, and it's infuriating. I know you don't think he's the problem, but could you at least acknowledge it so it can be discussed on your show? Now, I'd just go back a little bit and say, absolutely, you bang on, Alistair, with your interpretation of my thinking of Wilder. I don't think he's the problem here. But I'd also say that I'm always open to that discussion that he might be. So that's why I wanted to raise it today. I'll happily have that conversation with anybody in the comments. Lee can chat about it as well. I think Lee falls on a similar side to myself, but again, we're here to have that discussion about what fans want to talk about. So without any further ado, we'll get ready for Norwich together with my mate. He's bald, he's brilliant. It's Ali.
Bold and brilliant, that's Ali. Knows the pitch like the back of his knee. No need for hair, he's got strategy. Football genius, yeah. That's Bally.
Now then, mate, how's it going?
Really good, mate. Really good. A bit stiff from playing bad golf for an afternoon, but apart from that, yeah, good.
How'd you get on?
Moving on to this week's game.
That well.
Yes, mate, that
okay.
well.
Okay, so you'll have caught where I was just saying one of the comments we had on 90 after 90. Just, I think it's the latest comment that's landed, actually, and it was just one that caught my eye. And I think it's certainly fair, and it was certainly a place to offer your own opinions. What are your thoughts on Wilder's share of the responsibility for this season? Because for context, and look, I think there is context around this, to be fair, but to be blatantly open about it, I think we've lost 11 games under his leadership. So it's certainly not an amazing season under Wilder, but I do think there was a lot for him to turn around and pick up and go again. I think the squad isn't quite where it was or it has been previously. I think in a lot of places we're stronger than last year, but I think the poor summers set us back as well. What are your general thoughts on that, mate? And people sort of starting to look at Chris Wilder a little bit.
Well, no manager's ever exempt from blame when a team loses, because they put them out on the field and they've got the opportunity to change the game while it's in play. Does he always make the right calls? Not at all. Not at all. And that's talking about the games that are going on now. But let's look at what he came into at the beginning of the season. We got a squad that was on the floor. Let's be honest, absolutely on the floor. And he's even said this is a bigger job than he's ever had before. And you think what he did when he was here the first time, and he ripped the team together, put it all together, and away we go. And I think he's going to have to do it again next season. He's done a fantastic job, in my opinion, but I'm talking for the season wide, not recently. Yes. And I think he could have made changes yesterday earlier and might have given us a bit more of a boost. But would they? Do we know that they would have?
No, we don't.
One change doesn't always lift how lackluster a performance is. They can just drop into it. It can do. It can be a spark.
Yeah.
But yesterday, everybody on that pitch, I don't think anybody came away apart from probably Bindon, who could hold his head up, personally. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I think we always want to be a place where people can come and have their say. And I certainly don't want to shoot Alistair down for having a different opinion to us. We don't hide the fact that a lot of us are very pro Wilder, but I think that's the general opinion of the fan base. If I'm honest, I think what we've got is a minority of people that thankfully feel comfortable enough to vocalise it in a sensible enough way that they're not actually that struck on him. To be fair, and that's that we're hearing all sorts of different sides of things. I fall on exactly the same thought process. Like the thing that people are asking now, and again, we're here to talk about these sort of topics, really, is why no Femi Siriki yesterday? And people are sort of assuming, not that we know anything about it, but that there's been some sort of rift, or is it a contract issue? What are your speculative thoughts, Lee, on what or do you just think it's purely a selection thing where we don't know what goes off in training? We don't know if Hoover's been doing really well, and he'd had a good game against QPR previously, so this is the one that a lot of people are talking about when they're saying he should have changed it earlier. I think that's probably right, because Hoover weren't having the best of games. But in terms of him starting, I didn't see a lot of people kicking off about it, if I'm honest.
No, I was a little bit surprised, if I'm honest. But maybe it's another 3-game week. Is he just giving him that rest? Because he's played a lot of football for a young kid, and he's not done this much football before, at this level.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But also, I was saying at half-time, Hoover's got to come off because he wasn't playing very well. He weren't having a great game. I do like the kid, but he weren't playing well. But to take a player off at half-time rips the confidence to pieces. You'll normally see they'll give him another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But he was a candidate to come off at half-time. He really had a poor game. He struggled.
Yeah.
Was I upset that he was selected? Not at all. Not at all. Would I want him selected in the next game? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will see, because we'll be doing our team selections. The one thing I would say as well, I think you've hit the nail on the head with, it's a 3-game week. And if we didn't win the game, unfortunately, but you could argue, or you should be arguing really, that of the 3 games, this was seen to be the least difficult of the 3, because we've now got to go to Norwich and to Birmingham, which are 2 huge tasks. That's taking nothing away from West Brom, but if you want to field your absolute best team, and you think the full team can't go full tilt in 3 back-to-back games, then this is where you make a couple of changes at West Brom, potentially. And it might be as simple as that, whereas Femi's been planned to go full tilt against Norwich and against Birmingham, use that link-up that we rely on so heavily, and we thought Hoover would offer us enough against West Brom. And it weren't just Hoover's fault that we didn't win yesterday, by the way. He was below par, but a lot of the team weren't great either. It were really disappointing, I thought, yesterday. Just touching on yesterday's performance, actually, Lee. Is that us done now, in your opinion?
Well, we were on the borderline anyway, weren't we? Of it. I mean, I've been saying top 9, and we might have squeezed in. I think we're done. I've got to be honest. I think that's it. And just going back to Hoover, that weren't a bad team we put out yesterday.
No, it weren't at all.
That was a good side, and it just seemed to be within the first 5 minutes, they just didn't seem to be that spark, that drive, that we normally get.
Yeah.
Sloppy passes. I mean, in the interview the other day that you were talking to Gyro in, that we went down to Roundhouse Hostel, and he was saying we need 6 to 7 points. 7 points, I think he said in the interview.
Yeah.
Out the next 3 games. Well, they've got to pull the finger out now because we are behind where I think they would have expected to be.
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I'm saying? But also away from home, talking about the Sariki situation, we're going to have less ball away from home in the next 2 games. And if we're countering, there's nobody better at doing that, running down that right side than Femi. And maybe he's thinking more about, this type of tactical, let's get him fit, let's get him fresh for these next 2 games to overlapping down over around Brooks.
Yeah, I think the same. I'll just say now as well at this stage, before we get into our Norwich preview, apologies firstly, this was my fault last week for the echoing. If you can hear echoing at all now, do let us know. I don't think there should be any issues because I think we resolved it midstream last week, but I understand that a few people were rightly calling me out on it, saying, come on, Jimmy, get this sorted because it's not great. I'm no tech whiz, but I've certainly done my bit to try and get that issue resolved. So hopefully everything's okay with that. Before we jump into our Norwich preview, mate.
Can I just ask you a question, Jim? Do you love yours?
Do you want your favourite replica shirts for the World Cup? Check out okjersey.com. It's high quality jerseys starting from just £15. I love mine. From modern day shirts to the old classics that we all love. Use the code Ramble at the checkout to get 8% off your order. Get ready for the World Cup in style. And thank you to OK Jersey for their support of the Ramble. Thank you to OK Jersey for their support of the Ramble. We're getting much more airtime than originally agreed because of this whole I love mine palaver. So I hope they're satisfied with their end of the deal. Killed me. Absolutely killed me. So, mate, we're forgetting about West Brom has been and gone. They've taken 4 points off us this season, which is ridiculous because it must be their worst season in 20 years. But not what we can do about it now. So we move on and we look to what is a really tricky game against Norwich. Just having a little look about their situation. So this is where they are. They're 17th in the league, but they've won 4 of the last 5 in the league. It may stretch a little bit further than that, but I think we certainly just look at the last 5 when we do these previews. 17th currently. Obviously, that's in a similar vein to us, really. That's due to a ridiculously poor start rather than where they are as a side at the moment, I think it's fair to say. 4-2-3-1, another one of these, more or less every side in the league plays a 4-2-3-1 this season. Key man I've got as Makama. I don't know whether he's
out.
Well, I was going to ask you this because before we came on, and we try not to confer too much because we do the lineups and the score predictions, which will speak for themselves, I think. But you did say, Jim, wait till we get into it because there's more injuries than you've maybe thought. So talk to us about what Norwich's issues are at the minute then, pal.
Well, currently injured, they've got Harry Mass, Chernick, Diallo, Shane Duffy, Forsyth, Jurasek, Makama, Matson, Schlupp, Svartau, Topic, Torre, and Slimani as well, who was on the bench today. And they were saying he might have come back today. So he has actually come back today playing against Leeds. But they are struggling through injury. And
Makama and Torre are huge.
Massive.
I didn't realise that they were both out.
Excuse me. Yeah. But they have got a back 4 that's played the last 2 games together. Apart, obviously, Grimshaw's in goal today. And normally they have Kovacevic in goal. But, Field and McLean in midfield that they play together very often. A good championship players, very experienced championship football.
Yeah, they are.
So they're strong there, and these are a decent side. They've won 3 of the last 5 home games. They've lost 2, but they've won 3. They're going to be no mugs these at home.
No, this is the last 11, and it's in the 4-2-3-1 that we spoke about. Yeah. This was the last League 11 against Leicester when they beat them 2-0 at Leicester. Look, Leicester having a terrible season, but this is when Rowett's gone in, and you'd expect him to have a little bit of a kick. And they've started to sort of get a bit of momentum. Got a point at Middlesbrough, got a point at Ipswich, and Norwich beat them at home at Leicester. No mugs at all, this Norwich side, and it's a really tough game for us. Kenny McLean in the middle, I really like. He's somebody that Sheffield United were looking at in the summer. Whether it was this summer or it's probably summer before under Wilder still. but he's certainly somebody we've showed interest in the past. Knocking on a little bit now, but a really steady pair of hands in the middle.
Proper captain, Jim, as well.
Yeah.
Proper leader.
Yeah, he is. He is, and it's been the profile that we've looked at in the past for these sort of players as well. It's a decent side, and sometimes you don't have to have outstanding individuals that jump off the page at you. When your side's playing well and you're in really good form, that can carry you anyway. So it doesn't have to be... confidence is so much in football, as we all know. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, oh, well, Sam Field, he's a bit of a journeyman at championship level. Yeah, but if he's having a really good season, then it can bring him up a level or two, which is something to bear in mind.
Well, he's solid. He's solid at the side of McLean, isn't he? It's solid. That's all you'd say.
They've had a very similar season to us in a lot of ways. More similar than I actually realised. So that can't be right. That can't be right. Because they've played more games than they should have done there. But so we'll knock that off straight away because I'll have to move past that one. So that was the previous Norwich lineup. We'll look at the previous United lineup, which started yesterday. I think already we can look at a couple that probably won't feature. Bamford being the standout one who got what appeared to be a dead leg, hopefully. Certainly that's how Wilder categorised it in the post-match. That's a big blow for us in a lot of ways. Having said that, I don't think he did an awful lot yesterday. I think he was quite quiet until he got injured. Nobody covered themselves in glory yesterday, like you say, other than Bindon. So it's certainly not one to dig people out. I thought Adam Davies had a very good game as well, it has to be said. Again, I'd have to see the goal back to see whether there was a little bit more he could do or was he unsighted. I think there were a corner where he came and punched and didn't quite get the distance on it that you'd want. But for a keeper who's been the talk of the fan base, really, in terms of, oh my word, well, if Davo's coming in, then that's it. There's no chance, blah, blah, blah. It was very close to having a second clean sheet in a row yesterday. Got beat by a really good strike.
Yeah.
I think fair play to Adam Davies in terms of looking fairly comfortable in the goal yesterday. And that hopefully those are building blocks, which, again, I want to talk to you about something else. But this team... Will it be as we see it here? Well, we know Bamford's likely going to be out. I think Keanu Hoover comes out of the side, if I'm honest. We were talking before, and I think he didn't do himself too many favours. I think this is going to be the side that Wilder goes with. I think he's going to switch it up because Gus Hamer's going to be, we believe he's suspended now, don't we? Because he picked up that daft booking. I think he'll go to 4-4-2. I want to know your guys' thoughts on what you think he'll do, but this is an assumption. Just a hunch off what we've done previously. The fact that Gus, I think he sometimes plays the 4-2-3-1 to accommodate both Callum O'Hare and Gus Hamer, because there is a little bit, in my opinion, of a step down when Campbell comes in, Fosse, O'Hare, or something like that. Well, now we've no choice. Bamford's out and Gus is out, and this is the team I think he'll go with. I think he'll go Sariki at right back, Tanganga and Bindon as the centre-back pairing, and Burrows at left-back. I think Sidney Peck and Gyro keep their place in the middle, Andre Brooks on the right, and I think he'll play Callum O'Hare on the left. Tyrese Campbell and Tom Cannon may start. And again, this is speculative. Lee, do you think there's a chance he goes this way?
Well, he's been known to do it in the past. He did it at QPR as well, didn't he? So, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see this team. Yeah, not at all.
So again, me and Lee predict our teams independently, and I'm going to show you my team.
I was on the ninth tee when I got the text, so we definitely weren't comparing.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the team I'd go with. I'd stick with a 4-2-3-1. It's hard to justify. I always want to give Tom Cannon a chance. I think we play well with two up top at times. I think we'll go with a 4-2-3-1. I think this is going to be the best chance of us getting something out of this game. I think we have to pack the midfield a little bit more and just be a little bit smarter. We're away from home. Campbell up top is a good outlet. He's not been playing well this season, but he's looking a little bit more like. I'm going with Davo in goal. 4 at the back of Sariki, Tanganga, Bindon and Hjelde, who I think hasn't really had a fair shout yet. And that's purely through the former Harrison Burrows, who I think has done well to keep the shirt. City and Gyro in the middle for me. O'Hare stays in the 10. I'm going Brooksy out on the right and Harrison Burrows on the left because I think he's got a great delivery into the box. And I'd love to see a few of these along the floor in front of the striker's feet as Campbell makes his darting runs into the box. So I've got Tyrese Campbell leading the line for us in what I think you may agree with somewhat, mate.
Incredibly, we think the same again, Jim. Yeah.
That is exactly the same team that you text me as well, isn't it?
I think we'll play more of a 4-4-1-1 with that team.
Yeah. So Brooks and Burrows a little bit further back.
Yeah, just a bit more solid. But it's so flexible, that side, that can go to a back three with Helder on the left and then play with wing backs. You know, you could go to a 4-4-2 from it. You can go to a 3-6-1 if you wanted to defend it out.
Yeah.
It's a very flexible lineup. And while I think he will start a 4-2-3-1, it could change within an instant, really, that formation.
Yeah.
But that's what we'd go for.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he actually does on the day. Well, we'll be there with you to do a watch along. For those that aren't going to Carrow Road, myself and Jord Motson will be doing a watch along on the channel. Couldn't get one together for West Brom, unfortunately, but I think in hindsight that was probably a good thing. And myself and Jord will hopefully be bringing you a better result on Wednesday night, so join us then. Speaking of things we've got coming up, actually, after this stream, 8 o'clock tonight, there's some big news in the Championship, mate, and that is that the playoffs are now moving from 4 places to 6.
Yep.
It was never in doubt that this was going to get voted through by Championship clubs because why would you not want a greater opportunity of getting to the Premier League? It's an absolute no-brainer for all the clubs in the league. But does it make it better? I'm not going to ask you directly now because the lads are going to be debating it tonight on Ramble FC, 8 o'clock. Join Batman Lou and Mark Meldrew, who will be going through that question because there's obvious pros to it, but there's also some cons as well. Does it affect the competitiveness of the overall season? If you're comfortably in 4th with 5 games to go, does that mean you switch off a little bit earlier? We see it with the top 6 as it is now. If it's going to be a top 8 where you know that you're comfortably in there, I don't know. There's a few different things to think about in that respect. So before we go into the comments then, pal, what is it you are predicting in terms of a scoreline?
Well, I'm not very confident of us getting a victory. And in fact, I don't want to be negative, but I haven't got a positive feeling. So instead of being negative, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw and sit on the fence.
Yeah. And that is, I mean, like, we laughed when we spoke about as teams and predictions because I've got exactly the same. I've gone 1 apiece, and I think that's a good result at Carrow Road this season, particularly where they are now under Philippe Clement. And it's hard because, like you said, Lee, when we spoke to Gyro, he said if we can get 6, 7, or 9 points from the next 3 games, then who knows? Well, we're definitely not getting 9 points. We can get 7. We can't get 6. So we have to win the next 2, essentially, to stay on track for what he was aiming for. And is this us essentially saying we don't think we will now? And yeah, it probably is. And that might be, that's hard to swallow. And I've had some pushback on my my take on 90 after 90. And again, that's what we're here to do. We want people to have their say on whether they think it's done or not. When I say I think the season's done, I think what I mean is I don't think we'll get promoted this year. That doesn't mean there's not anything to play for this season. I think it gives Wilder everything he needs to know. He can start taking notes now on who's going to be with me next year. And I think it's a really important thing to be looking at. In years gone by, we haven't had this opportunity. And that's how you've got to look at it.
Yeah.
We didn't know who was potentially coming to the Premier League with us last season or staying in the Championship. You might have had 2 lists. You might have had Harrison Burrows on a list that comes to the Premier League with you, but you sell him, that doesn't come to the Premier League with you, sorry, but you keep him in the Championship. That's just one random example, but now you know you're going to be a Championship side next year. Who do we get? Do we go out and look at somebody? Do we plan for selling Gus and get somebody like Cleary in at Barnsley, which I think it'd be a sensible signing in terms of protecting the long-term future as well. He's not likely to lose value depending on what you get him for. Do you go out and get somebody you think might be championship ready for a side that might even go down this season, like Mikey Johnston, who you're probably paying a little bit more for, but you're paying for the here and now, who would be a good replacement for Gus in a lot of ways. He's a very different player, but we play Gus on the left, and Mikey Johnston will give us a creative outlet on that left-hand side.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things to be excited about. I think some fans are right to be concerned about selling some of our prized assets, but that is the reality of where we are as a club now. And the sooner, I think, the way I determine it, and I'm not telling anybody how to think about it themselves, but as soon as I get my head around that being the case, then we can look forward as to how we're going to be next season. That's just how I handle it, mate. I don't know what your thoughts are on the whole situation being trying to look for silver linings as to the situation that we're in, I suppose.
Well, the only silver lining to it is we can, as you've said, plan for next year. Do we have a look at Faxon for a couple of games?
Yes.
You know, what have we got? What have we got in Luke Faxon? We might have the next Endo. We might not. You know, we might have the next Gerbich.
Or George Long.
Or George Long, yeah.
It's that sort of thing, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
Where is he going to land?
Exactly. You know, can Chong do it at this level for us? Or have we got to look at him? Is McGuinness, with her running the team, going to look a better player for us? Because in short spells, he's looked decent, Mark McGuinness has. You know, so really, I mean, we've got Rothwell next season as well. Do you start taking Gyro out of the game? Because even though we've got an option on him, we've not taken it up yet to have a look at Rothwell. Again, once we know we can't do it, you've got to start thinking, right, we've got to do it next season, because the longer we stay out of the Premier League, the harder it gets, because the money's just going to go away.
There's an argument to say, do you take Bindon out? Because if we're not going to sign him, then why are we developing him for somebody else when we could potentially see what McGuinness is about, for example, like you said. I don't think Ben Mee will be here next season, if I'm honest, but Tanganga and McGuinness, can they form a partnership that's something like? And people scoff at that, and understandably so. I think Bindon's played better than McGuinness has this season, and he's in the team on merit. But we're talking about giving players that are going to be here next season a chance, or put him in shop window. You know, it's something like that, where nobody would have started this season saying Sam McCallum's got to be in this side over Harrison Burrows.
Correct.
And that's the example we keep falling back to. But that's exactly what you want. You want a player to break the mould and say, look, I know you see me as a reserve or a sub, but I'm taking my chance when you call me up, because he's not playing well, and I want this spot. And that's exactly what he's done. I think Andre Brooks has made that right-hand side his own. And yes, you know, we don't think Ogbenny or Chong's really been up to it this season, but would Brooks have played as well without the competition behind him? We'll never know, will we? So, because if it were just Brooks, there's no necessity to get to that next level, because he's going to get picked anyway. So,
well, without injuries, Jim, Ogbenny won't play again for us, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because of the loan situation, and you're gonna play Chong instead if Brooks is out.
Why wouldn't you play Chong when he's our player?
Yeah, exactly.
And would you potentially go with Cannon and or Campbell or both to try and get him into some sort of rhythm or partnership, or would you think
or saleable asset?
Yeah, exactly, saleable asset. Or Bamford's going to be. It's going to be Bamford +1 for us next season. He might be thinking already, I'm going to switch to a 4-4-2 next year, because Wilder will be thinking all these things. And he might think, I'm going to get Bamford and Cannon firing as a partnership. So it wouldn't surprise me to see these sort of changes made over the next 2, 3, 4 games. I'm not saying I expect to see Luke Faxon in sticks at Carrow Road, because I don't. And I think Davo, like we've said earlier, has done a really good job so far. And
didn't put a foot wrong yesterday.
Yeah, I think it needs saying, because particularly myself, I know I can get a little bit overly... I can sometimes focus on what I think of a preconceived idea of a player, and I'm aware of that, and I have to get better at it. But I was worried about Davo coming in, and to be fair, he's not giving me any reason to worry. That could have been Michael Cooper yesterday. He's not saving that shot either. So...
The thing about goalies, though, Jim, is goalies and strikers are the two people that affect games the most.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you are worried about a position and a player in that position, especially if it's a goalkeeper, it's exacerbated, isn't it? Because of the position itself.
It is, and I think I could always pluck an example out as to why I'm worried about him or why I haven't got the confidence in it. But why would I do that? Why would I want to focus on that element of it when he's our player? I don't want to be vocalising, but he dropped a clanger last year and he did this and he did that. Well, he might not do that this time because he has been a good player at this level previously, and we've got to hope that he can get to similar levels now. And I do think there's a chance he can, knowing that he's got 10 games in front of him, that might calm him down a little bit. That might that might release the pressure on him to say, oh, well, I've got to show that I'm doing it today because Coops is back in next week. Well, he ain't. It's Davo's gig till the end of the season, unless we choose to have a little look at Luke Faxon, which I think you could also argue for. But Davo could earn himself a new deal here.
Well, this is what I was going to say, Jim. He's out of work at the end of this season. You know, he's playing for a future, whether it be at us or another club in this division or lower.
That's true. But I think we mentioned this last time, and I agree. I think it was yourself that said it's never been a question of his effort. And it hasn't. So sometimes it's been his ability that's been the question. But has that been linked to his mental state in terms of, oh, well, I need to perform, or I'm under pressure to, live up to Coop's standards, or whatever it might have been? You never know how the lad's thinking. You never know what he's got going off. And if Wilder said to him, "You're my man till end of season. Don't be second guessing it," because he could well have said this, which we know. Yeah. Don't second guess it. You are starting every game till end of season that you're fit for. And I want you are now our number one for the rest of the season. He could be a foot taller, walking out there thinking, I've got a chance. So all credit to Davo, and we'll see where it goes. I'm going to jump into some comments now before I get too far ahead, because it'll be 8 o'clock before we know it, and we'll be overlapping with lads. So John says, "Hi Jim and Lee, BBL. What do you think of Norwich selling Josh Sargent to Toronto FC for 20 million, which is an MLS record? Will this cash make them a threat in 26-27? Up all the Rambles, up the Canada Men's World Cup team. And my team for Norwich," he says, is 4-4-2. Davis, Sariki McGuinness, Bindon and Hjelde. So he's dropping Tanganga. Tanganga, who came in for some stick on 90 after 90, to be honest. Brooks, Gyro, Peck and Rothwell. Cannon and Campbell. So you're dropping O'Hare for Rothwell. I would use McGuinness for his 6'5" presence in both boxes. Callum O'Hare needs a break. This is squad rotation. Really interesting, that, John. And again, it's your opinion, pal. Thoughts on, well, there's the team that John's put out there, but also he wants to know if Norwich will be a threat next season after banking 20 million for Josh Sargent.
No, I think it'll just go towards their cash flow, because they're not a team making money anyway. So who is in this division? That's right. So it'll just go into and rolling on.
There'll be a threat because of Philippe Clement.
Yeah, who's doing very well with them. And
absolutely.
Against Leeds, I watched the first half, and they were trying to play football. Leeds were very strong and doing very well against them, but they're trying to play. On what I would say on John's team there, it's very unbalanced across the middle for me, that team. With 3 central midfielders. I don't know how it'd work, but unless he plays Cannon on one of the wings.
Or Brooks behind the 2 up top and have a flat 3 and no wing. Wing option.
That's a worry, though, with the straight into our fullbacks.
It's not one I'd go with personally, John.
No.
I have to say as well, and again, I don't like digging out our own players. I think Rothwell needs to show me more. We've seen 35 minutes of him in his debut where he got sent off for a reckless challenge. And that's one of them things you have to say, we're bad decision, but we move on. Yesterday, I thought he looked a little bit slow. Look, it'll take him a bit of time to get up to match sharpness. I'll judge him properly next season. But at the moment, he doesn't get in the starting 11 for me at the moment. So Gyro and Peck would be my 2 in the middle, and I know Lee said he'd do the same.
The thing about, just to jump in, sorry, Jim.
Yeah, it's all right,
about
mate.
What Wilder said about him when he got sent off, he said he would try and, he wanted to make a big tackle to lift the crowd. And all he did was lift their player 10 foot in the air, didn't he? To be quite honest, which made me chuckle a little bit, to be honest. But
what's your thoughts on the McGuinness shout for Tanganga? And it's more a case of not why is McGuinness in, but would you agree that Tanganga's been slightly disappointing over the last few games?
He's not been at his top levels that he was earlier in the season. I would say that. But is that because Bindon's been outshining him a little bit? So we're
possibly
looking differently, because Bindon's really came through and lifted well. But I wouldn't drop him. Tanganga, in my opinion, is a better player than McGuinness. But do you say to these lads, well, he's playing whatever?
Yeah.
Form's got to count, hasn't it?
I think so. and it has done with other positions. So I don't think you can, be funny on certain positions either.
He don't like dropping a skipper though, does he? He never has, Chris.
Do you change the skipper in the closed season?
Yes, we need to bring some leaders into this club.
Yeah, I agree. Which will be a topic throughout the summer, I'm sure. Batman Lou says, very tricky fixture this. Historically, it always was, but we've done okay there in recent times. Unless he feels rotation is necessary, I would make one change, Sariki in. I don't feel any other changes offer much value unless he feels the same 10 or 11 can't go again. I think that's our best team. Up the Ramble, up the Blades, like and subscribe. I would agree, Lou, if they were available. And I think Gus is out now through suspension. And Bamford, we are erring on the side of caution and assuming that he'll be rested due to his, what was hopefully a dead leg rather than anything a little bit more serious. So I'm not expecting Bamford to start anyway on Wednesday. Statman Jack says, evening lads, we've got to make another change, mate. No Hamer, so back to a 4-4-2. I think for at least the next 2 games, hoping we can see the best of O'Hare again. Hoping Bamford is okay too. We need to try to lay it on Norwich as they have less time to prepare with them being at Leeds tonight. I think we can do the business here, and Wilder will expect no less. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. It swings and roundabouts though, Jack, isn't it? Because we play Wednesday night, and I assume that Birmingham play Tuesday night. I'd have to have a look at the fixtures. So they will have more rest than us. So you're right, though. We've got to take advantage of having that extra day against Norwich, where Birmingham will have an extra day on us as well. So we'll wait and see.
Jack makes a good point as well, Jim, there about O'Hare. O'Hare's best games this season have been when Gus has not been on the pitch. Whether it's the focus then comes onto him a little bit more and he gets the ball a little bit more in better areas.
Possibly.
Instead of always trying to link with Gus. I don't know.
He's not been as impactful as he the last, I would say, 4 or 5 games, Callum O'Hare.
Agree.
And that's taking nothing away from him, but we were waxing lyrical about him early doors. I still think he's been our best player across the season and he's still on for Player of the Year, but he's going to have to pick up a little bit again towards the end just to see out what has been a very good season for him individually. So, well,
there would only have been 3 up for it anyway, and that'd have been McCallum, Peck, and O'Hare. And O'Hare's been the best all through the season of all the 3.
Yeah. I think Brooks is making a late claim for it, although he's again going a little bit cooling off a little bit at times, but he certainly goes through hot streaks where you think this guy is incredible. So, yeah, there's an argument.
He's unplayable or he can't play. Brooks.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Foystegg says, yesterday was turgid.
Yeah.
Got to hope it was a blip onto Norwich. Good word, turgid. Archie says, reflecting on yesterday's game, I think that's the worst home game since Bristol City on the opening day. Very tough watch. For me, the season is still on until we know the results after the next 2 games. Fair dues. To be fair, I spoke to the man Mountain today, and he was saying it certainly feels like it's off. And I'll talk to him more in 3 Mardy Blades tomorrow night because we'll be together tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It certainly feels like it's off at the moment, and he's not trying to push back on me by saying that. But he says if we beat Norwich and then potentially win at Birmingham, it's a completely different story all over again. So while it looks unlikely at the moment, we all know what we're like as a fan base, and I am one of the worst for that. Up and down and up and down. This is why I'm trying to keep myself at a bit of a level. But
the game
again,
after that as well is Disney at home.
Can you imagine? Oh, mate.
That could be a 6-pointer, but we've got to get 6 points from the next 2 first.
But what have you seen the tweet though? What a brilliant run in the FA Cup they've had. Ryan Reynolds has posted a tweet and said it's been an incredible FA Cup journey. They came in at 3rd round and they went out in the 5th round. What is he talking about? Absolutely ludicrous. I think I know what he's on about in general.
Because he's used to starting in 1st round, Jim.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, he must have forgot. Must be going back to preliminary rounds that they used to be in when they were where they belong. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. Come at me, Wrexham fans. Come at me. I don't think Wilder is the problem. I think the team is just not good enough, says Freddie. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of turnover in the summer, or I think we'll certainly try to have a lot of turnover in the summer. These are contracted players to us now, some of these that we'll be trying to get out, and there has to be a willing buyer. So it's going to be one of 2 things. Well, 1 of 3. We either get the money we want and everybody's happy. We don't get the offers that we want and they have to stay. Or we don't get the offers that we want and we cut our losses in terms of selling on the cheap or free. and then we are out of pocket financially and you have to find the money elsewhere, but you're freeing up some big wages of players that we should never have signed in the first place. So,
the Gerbich situation as well, we just send him on loan like they do with the Gerbich and they cover most of his wages, and that's all we can do. That's all we can do some of the times.
I think that's easier with, and I don't know if this is a sweeping stereotype, but with foreign players, I think that's easier to do. Like, I can't imagine McGuinness going out on loan, for example, and somebody covering his wages in their entirety, because you'd expect him to be on big wages.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he has to be one that goes out, but if the other thing is, I do anticipate that we will lose a couple of players that we don't particularly want to lose. I think Gus Hamer is probably most likely to leave, and that's just a guess. But I think just due to the speculation that we've had over him previously, and I would probably say Sidney Peck if I had to edge my bets. So you've got to replace them first before you look at getting any of our other players out. You've got to think that's 2 first teamers that have left. So who's coming in for them as well? So there's already some wheeler dealing that you're having to think about. And then, you can look at maybe moving Chong on or somebody else, or Danny Ings and Ben Mee get released, and I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's, there's a lot of work to do.
As well. It's wage bill as well, Jim. All right, Gus will be on a good wage, but Peck won't be on loads of money.
No,
we're not going to. So you're going to have to get the money from the transfer, because you're not going to be saving much.
Yeah.
Whereas if we got, I'm going to pick on Matos here, which I don't really want to do, but he's not giving us any value for the money we've paid for him, for the wages he's getting. So if we could get him out the door, it'd help us both ways.
This is a sad, as Andy the Blade would say, a sad indictment of our summer business.
Yeah, it is,
Some would say he's got the word wrong, but he will stand and say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I said indictment. He didn't. He said indictment. So Matos, and again, we don't like calling players out, but this is just an example of what we believe the situation is. From what I understand, it was nowhere near the 4 or 5 million that was quoted. I think it was something like 1.1, something like that we've paid for him. And then it could obviously increase with incentives, which is often the way that transfers are done. It's alleged, and that's all I'm saying, because I don't want to say anything else, that he's on around £18,000 a week, alleged, which is a lot of money. And there's clubs interested in Matos, like Oxford, who that will probably be, well, it's certainly going to be probably their highest paid player if they bring him in. Does he have enough of an impact at Oxford to become their highest paid player? Looking at the evidence on what we've seen of him, which is very little, to be fair to the lad, I would probably say no. No jumps out that says he can be a standout at championship level for a team. So we have boxed ourselves into a corner where we might have to let him go and still pay 50% of his wages, whether that's permanently or on loan. And that's another example of the poor business. And that's, if the lad had had a 10-game stretch in the side, he might have done well for us. And it's certainly not a dig at him as a player or anything like that. But in terms of us stockpiling players that we didn't necessarily need, look at how many centre midfielders we've got now. He must be 8th or 9th in pecking order.
Yeah.
And it's just not been good business overall. So I'm expecting him to move on, but he will be one that we'll have to cut our losses on and take it as bad business in the summer.
Yeah.
So just one of them things. Chariot says 2 big away days coming up. Let's make it a 7-point week. Other results went our way and we'll need more of that. Not giving up yet. No way. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Fair play, Chariots. I don't mind the positivity. Some would call it delusion, but some would also call it positivity. And I think we're not here to persuade anybody else to come on, guys, you've got to admit that it's done now and all this. No, you don't. You don't. You can think what you like. People have thought that there were Chris that came on last night. Brand came on 90 after 90. They've been saying for probably 6 weeks, if not longer, there's no chance we get playoffs. And I think now they will be proven right. But Chariots might be laughing at us all in, 4 weeks' time when we're 7th with 2 points difference and all this sorts of thing. So, and I hope he is. I hope he is laughing at all of us, saying, I told you this is what happened. Adam says, evening, Jimmy and Lee. 1 of 2, I think it is. Oh, yes, it's 1 of 2 because I can see a further message. It's easy to play the blame game, but football has loads of moving parts. Ours has had misfires, new parts integrated that haven't worked. These things happen. Win, lose, or draw. Look, I'm not wild and mad. I don't necessarily agree with the whole of his style or tactics. It's a bit lackluster. It just needs tweaking slightly. But he came, made the changes, picked the players up, and we've gone. Not anymore. Gone from bottom to safe in the Championship, which a lot of fans were worried about. League One. Again, he's seen it through to this point, kept us safe, but he gets United built on the culture and inspired more from them. I think that's fair. A lot of us do forget just how bad it was when Wilder came back in. We were on the floor. And, you know, I touched on it last night about just how bad it was. It was really bad, as my alarm goes off. Josh says, we play better with 2 up top, but Wilder doesn't seem to see it. Femi being left out is also criminal. I think that's easy to say in hindsight, Josh, if I'm honest. And I'm not saying you weren't saying that when the teams were called out yesterday. You probably were. A lot of us were sort of saying, Femi's not starting. If we win that game, if we nick it 2-1, which I'm not saying we deserve to do, nobody's saying this. Nobody's saying why did he start Guyana Hoover? Why did he do that? Because we've won the game and he's got away with it, or we've done what we needed to do. We've come away one apiece, and I think Femi should have started yesterday. But again, like Lee pointed out, it's a 3-game week. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see Femi do 70 minutes against Norwich and then maybe even 90 minutes against Birmingham, depending on what happens. So I think you've got to play the long game sometimes with your squad. You've got to. Why are we bringing Hoover in if he's not going to play at all? Yeah. I'd say the same for Hjelde. Wouldn't surprise me to see Hjelde make an appearance, certainly in this 3-game week at some stage. We've both got him in our preferred lineups to start because it's a squad game rather than you can't just rely on your best 11 every single time. It'd be lovely to be able to do that. It'd be great. Definitely. But we can't do it. Bryce says, we welcome everyone into the Blades Ramble chat and want everyone here to feel comfortable to air their views. All we ask is that you keep it clean and be nice to each other, respect others' views, please. Thank you, Bry. Statman says, on Femi, I think he must be on managed minutes, as I can't see why he wouldn't start with Brooks. So they may not necessarily be Wilder's fault either. That's true as well. We don't know if he's carrying anything. We're making assumptions about. And to be honest, we might never know that, because they could ask Wilder in the presser, and he might just say it's a tactical decision. Yeah. But it might not be true. It might be a case of Femi is carrying an injury and he don't want to let the opposition know that. So we will never know the full situation until the player comes out. Look, we go back to this a couple of times. We spoke to a player 3 months ago now, maybe, who said that last season, a Sheffield United first teamer, I don't know whether I've revealed the name, so I'm not going to reveal it a second time.
You haven't.
A Sheffield United player who received some criticism for their form last year was carrying an injury for 4 months. They were having injections in the leg for 4 months, couldn't feel their right foot for 4 months of the season, and we knew nothing about it. The press knew nothing about it. Our channels knew nothing about it. No fans seemed to know about it other than those nearest and dearest to either the club or the player. We don't know what these players are doing. If Femi could have been on injections for the last month to get through games. So we can't just take everything at face value, like what is Wilder playing at, because there's usually a deeper reason for it. And it might be something like speculative, like a fallout. It might be. But there might also be something legitimate that says he's not playing for a real reason. So we just have to cut him a little bit of slack sometimes, I think.
I would say as well on that, Jim, the player who told us, I'm being careful not to say what it was, he was very frustrated about it as well, because there was a reason behind it, but he couldn't let anybody know about it.
That's right.
Obviously at the time, and fair play.
Great Bance says, I've got tickets in a certain famous Norwich fans exec box for this. Oh, nice. Apparently, I will get attacked if I celebrate an away goal. Upset with Brom, but every place higher counts for us for... can't see any more Great Bants. But is that Alan Partridge then that's got you some tickets? Because he's the most famous Norwich fan that I know. Absolute legend.
What are they going to do? Attack him with buns if it's Delia's place? Going to throw some ice
pots of mustard.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Liam says, evening lads, just caught up with 90 after 90. A lot of calls for Hamer to be sold and Cleary to replace him. For me, I would go with Mikey Johnston, as Cleary could be another Louis Barry. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I think it could be, Liam, could be. There's no guarantee that you're plucking somebody out of League One and getting a good player. There could also be a McCarmer for Norwich who came out of League One and has done very well at the level as well. You never know till a player lands. And the fact that he would be our own player, I think, would be a big difference, because you very rarely lose value on young players, obviously depending on what you're going to invest in them in first place. So there's a little bit about, because how much would you pay for Mikey Johnston? Probably a bit more than you pay for Cleary, unless you're paying for potential. So I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Spoke to some West Brom fans. I spoke to them for quite a while on Saturday before the game, and they are very underwhelmed with Mikey Johnson.
Really? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think he's their lead assists man.
Correct. But they just said best of a bad bunch, but underwhelming.
But also, we would say from the outside, people would say Gus Hamer's our best player and has the most assists for us this season.
Yeah.
But a Sheffield United fan might tell you he's been very disappointing by his own standards.
Yeah, nowhere near last season. Nowhere near.
So, and that's where stats can. That's why we'd never go stats heavy, because they can be so misleading. And from whenever I've seen Mikey Johnston, he looks really good, and a lot of Blades really like him. We see it in comments all the time. But
how many times do we see him? They see him all season.
Exactly right. We see highlight packages of him, don't we?
Yeah.
And twice a season when he plays United, unless we're doing a watch along on Ramble FC. But I think there's a lot to be said for what actual fans of the team they're playing for and their opinion in terms of how he's doing. Mark Meldrew says, "Hey up lads, hope you're both well. Very disappointed in the game yesterday. Such a drab performance from us, and we do have one of those inners. They were very poor and still managed to draw, which in the end was a fair result for me. On to Norwich and a tough away trip. Just going to enjoy the season for what it is now." Yes, Mark Meldrew lapping it up yesterday with the posh boys. I don't know how they got him in, to be honest, but you can sneak anybody in there nowadays, I suppose. Good evening, Ramble family, says Bright. Hope everyone is well as ever. Please keep the chat nice and clean. No shouting, which is all capitals. And enjoy your time here on the Best Blades channel. Thank you, my mate. That's a lovely thing to say. Batman Lou says, forgot about that Gus yellow card. Could tempt him into a 4-4-2. Yes, I think it might, mate. I think it might. Marco says, evening, Jim and Lee. The thing Wilder never takes criticism well, and that gets fans' backs up. If he would just own it for once. This is a very fair criticism. A very fair criticism in my book. I don't criticise him, so he don't get mad with me. But it was very spiky in the post match. I think Rob Staten asked him something like, what was the word that he used? Faffing about. Is there too much faffing about at the back? Yeah. And he was like, I don't know about faffing about, Rob. I don't know why you'd say that. I think that's a lazy way to. It were an immediate bite because. And then he talked about getting 92 points last season and all this sort of thing. We don't get 92 points by faffing about at the back. Well, it's not the same side as last year. No. I think this side when he gets it right, he's got the potential to be better than the team last year. We've said that we've played better than last season's team, but we haven't got that killer instinct like we did last year, and we haven't got that resilience that we had last year either. I don't think so. And he's working with different tools now. I understand that. He's having to mould players that he didn't bring into the football club. But there is that in him. And I think that's a very fair criticism from Mark. And I've always said with Wilder, you take the rough with the smooth. If you want him to be the badge-thumping manager that is one of us, essentially, on the touchline and leads as a passionate blade, then you're going to get that Mardy side of him as well. That's a big part of his personality. And he's going to get Monk on. Because, we all do. And it's one of them. That's how he reacts to stuff, and he's never claimed to be perfect, and nor have we claimed that he is perfect. I just think he's the right man for the job, personally.
Do you know what you said there, Jim, about having nowhere near the same resilience in this team as last year? That's true. I mean, last year we were winning games 1-0 all the time. Yeah, I think we've won 3 games 1-0 this year. That's it.
It's leadership.
You wouldn't fancy us at 1-0, would you?
Never do. No. There's no real backbone, I don't think, in this team. There's no. When Harry Suter was here, I was more than comfortable a lot of the time, and I'm very rarely a comfortable blade in terms of watching our team. I'm always like, ooh. But Harry Suter were there to mop everything up. He were absolutely top class, and I'm not saying bringing him back is the answer, because again, we don't know what he's going to be like as a player. Ollie Arblaster is the perfect example with the Harry Suter question, I think, because Ollie Arblaster, before he got injured, was our best centre midfielder, I would say. Yeah. And he's come back into the side, and because we've rushed him back, and I do believe this is the reason, he's not been able to get to them same levels. I think with a full pre-season, Ollie Arblaster will be back up to or certainly can get back up to the levels that we've seen of him previously. Harry Suter's had a similar injury to Ollie Arblaster, similar time out, only just getting back into light training now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
We've no idea of what level he's going to come back to. And the minute he puts in a poor performance, he'll be slated. And that's because we remember him as this rock at the back who was so intimidating and commanded the back line. It's not guaranteed. And I think there's a chance Harry Souttar comes back, because we know Chris Wilder are a huge fan of him. But we might not be getting the same Harry Souttar. It's the same as the Joe Rothwell argument in a lot of ways. Is he the same player that helped get Leeds promoted 2 seasons ago? Or were it 2 seasons ago or last season? Last season.
Yeah, last season.
Is that the same player? Or has he now started on the decline a little bit? Because he's had a terrible season half season at Rangers, from what we understand. We hope not. Obviously, we hope not. But we're a little bit wary of it, because he's not at those levels at the moment. So, all sort of up and down, but a decent, worth discussing, I think. Free Shot says, hi mate, yesterday I was at the game, one seat behind the row that had Man Mountain, Dave the Nose, Big T and Brett. Do you know why they were all on the same row? It might have been something to do with Ramble connections.
Please line up.
Yeah, it was, yeah. They all had different numbers that they had to hold up. Yeah, so Rich Carrington from Skills People Group, who is a Platinum Rambler, he arranged for a load of Platinum Ramblers and family members to have photos on the pitch before the game. So we chose, he gave me the option of offering them out, and we basically looked at people who had young kids and would get the most benefit from the day. So we put it out in the Platinum group some time ago. It was originally going to be the Oxford game, and that got cancelled. We all got ready and went to the Oxford game, but so those with young kids, and particularly if they can't get to the game very often, got the chance to have the photos next to the pitch and got some nice photos. Big T's got some of it on Ramble on the road this time. So yeah, it was brilliant, and thanks again to Rich Carrington from Skills People Group for his for facilitating that, and the club who were great with us again with helping us on the day.
Yeah, great support of the Ramble, Richard. Good bloke, really good bloke.
Top support, mate. Top support. And a top lad as well. Liam says, we need wingers, in my opinion. This is where we lack all the previous teams, who finished top 2 over the last few seasons. Have had 4 2 starters, 2 backups on the wings. This is where we lack. I know what you mean. Strength in depth in certain positions. I think that's probably fair, Liam. That's probably fair, mate. I think we'll get a better balance next year. I still think we're unbalanced as a squad.
Yeah.
Archie says, my lineup for Norwich is Davis, Burrows, Bindon, Tanganga and Sariki, Gyro and Peck, O'Hare on the left, Brooks on the right, Bamford and Campbell up top, 4-4-2. Let's hope Bamford's fit to play. I'm wary. Hopefully Bamford doesn't play like he did against West Brom. I know what you mean. I don't think he had the biggest impact, but I don't think you can dig him out individually. It's not like he was the disappointing one on the field, is he? Because I think collectively, like Lee said, I think there's only Bindon really that can stand tall and say, I did everything I could to make sure we got about line that game.
My comeback to that would say is, did Campbell have any impact either?
No, not really.
Exactly. So,
but I don't think he's as poor as he has been. I think Campbell's getting back to a decent level, I would say.
I thought he was poor yesterday. But that's it. We all have different views on it.
We do.
We all have different views on it.
We do, mate. Liam says, quality in the summer. We need to bring in 4, 1 either side. If Brooks leaves, bring in 2 more as backup, 3 if Brooks stays. Nathan says, I don't think that it's me. I don't think that that's it, me. If we can beat Norwich, I don't think that's it. I don't think it's over. Yeah. If we can beat Norwich and Birmingham and Wrexham, it's back on. Look, Nath, if we beat Norwich, Birmingham and Wrexham, I think it's back on and all. But how likely is that? It's to get 9 points from those 3 games is very difficult. If you'd have said the next 4, West Brom, Norwich, Birmingham and Wrexham, you wouldn't be saying 12 points, would you? And out of those 4 games, you'd say West Brom were the most likely to pick up the 3. So, and we've dropped them at the first hurdle. So it's never as straightforward as that. Are we capable? Yes. Is it likely? I would say no. I think you've got to be happy with probably 6 points from those 3 games, personally.
It would be very Sheffield United of us, though, to do that.
It would be so Sheffield United of us. Yeah. And then, whoever we play after international break, we'll lose. Yeah, Swansea. We'll lose to Swansea. Yeah. Finn says, evening, Jimmy. You give up on the top 6 now, play up Sky Blues. I have parked it for the time being, Finn. Some blades are still are still on that train, but I think it's a huge ask, to be honest.
Top 9, Finn. Top 9.
You said top 9 for a long time. I did actually get you to say top 6 at one stage a couple of weeks ago.
You got me to say top 8.
I'm not sure I did. Mark Meldrew said it the other week. We're a win 2, lose 2, draw 1 kind of team, and that's not good enough to get us to the goal of the playoffs. Eyes on next season for me. Too inconsistent. I agree with that, Marco. Having said that, over 5 games, if you got 7 points, that's not good enough, is it? That's not good enough. No. Susie says, yesterday wasn't an effort performance of a team actively wanting to push for the playoffs. So disappointing. Watch 90 after 90. What 90 after 90? Forget the past. The past isn't the reason players couldn't be bothered in that game. Fair. I was trying to justify why I think there's context to why we are where we are. Susie quite rightly says, when you look at the performance yesterday, is that the performance of a team that deserves to get promoted? Don't think it does.
Definitely not.
Don't think it does.
Definitely not.
Imagine if we win the next 10 and get in the playoffs. I might sound deluded, but imagine. No comment, Nath. No comment. I hope you're right, mate. I definitely hope you're right, but can't see it, if I'm honest.
Can we make it win the next 13? Because I don't want to go to Wembley again and have that happen again.
Win next 13. Can you imagine? The worry about the performance on Saturday, we had arguably our strongest 6 up in front of the back 4. Yeah, we did. Why not, Nath? Anything's possible. We did it. Says Finn from Cov. Brand says, there was a comment on 90 after 90 about Peck not being good enough. Absolute wild take that. You said that on 90 after 90 as well, Brand, I think. Or somebody did. Comfortably one of the top 3 midfielders in the league. I certainly don't think we're as good as we think. Susie says, imagine, Nathan, if they'd have tried yesterday and won by 2, we'd be 9th. Chance of closing it to 3 points with a win against Disney. Yesterday, they were as good as they're going, as said they're looking for next season. John says 2-0 win for the Blades. Oh, I hope you're right, mate. It's not an easy fixture this at all. 4-4-2 for me. Where did you go golfing, Lee?
We were at Southall in Nottingham, near Nottingham.
Oh, okay. Is that a regular spot for you?
No, it's the first time I've ever played there, and might be the last time after that performance.
And this club's still in tree. Mark says, I would put Hjelde in for Burrows personally. For a left-back, Burrows lacks a bit of steel and bite. Well, we've pushed him further forward in our lineups just to have him on left-hand side instead of Gus. Agree, Mark, says Chariots. Burrows is okay against sides we can really attack. Hjelde for me when we need to be a stronger defensive unit. I have to say, I've really liked the look of Hjelde when he's come in.
Yeah.
He's not had a lot of minutes on the field, but he looks quite assured, quite strong, steady, and I wasn't sure about the signing, I'll be honest, but I quite like the look of him. You're a fan as well, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, from what we've seen of him, I think he's positionally very good. He backs up play well. He's not Burrows. He looks like a defender, and I know they are defenders, but you know what I'm saying? He looks like somebody who's more happy defending than he is doing what Burrows does going forward. So I'm quite happy, especially away games. I've got no issues putting him in there. If we're going to get more ball, we probably need Burrows in the team.
Yeah, fair. I thought Gyro was playing too deep. Looked like he was the centre-back, says John. He did drop a lot deeper than usual yesterday. City Peck's done that in times gone by, but he did look at times like we were dropping to a 3, while Gyro were trying to be the pivot in the middle. Not really quite sure about it, to be honest. Paul says, when Davis and Shackleton go, that'll be like a parachute payments up the Blades, up the Ramble. So Tom Davis will go in the summer, undoubtedly. And Jamie Shackleton is probably somebody who will try and move out as well. I'm not worried, says Susie, about our team next year. I think next year's team will walks the league this year. How can you say that when we don't even know what team's going to be, Suze? I don't mind it. My concern is competition next year is going to be a much bigger ask. Underperformers will be better too. I would push back on that a little bit, actually. And this is just my opinion. I think we all thought that Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton were going to come down and dominate this league. Ipswich have had a good run recently, and they're all tough sides to face, don't get me wrong. But Leicester have been poor overall. Poor. Southampton making a push for the playoffs. Ipswich making a push for the top 2. Then they haven't dominated. And you say that sides underperforming will be better. What about the overperforming sides? I would put Coventry, Borough, Hull, Millwall, Preston.
Yeah,
they're all teams that I would have not expected to be as high as they were, and I think that's why a lot of people see it as a missed opportunity this season, because a strong team like Sheffield United last season could have been pushing for that top two, or would have been pushing for that top two if we're right. So, yeah, all about opinions, Suze, and you're welcome to yours. Charlie says, with Norwich crashing out of the FA Cup, I believe we could poach a win at Carrow Road. My prediction is a 2-0 win to the Blades up the Ramble. Up the Blades. Charlie, who made a star appearance on Ramble on the Road, and jinxed us yesterday as well by saying 2-0. So thank you, Charlie, for jumping in with another 2-0 there that will probably end in the same result. Liam says we need to start giving Blaster minutes to get him up to speed, ready for next season. I would argue against, if I'm honest. Again, this is just my opinion. I would like to see him continue to get minutes off the bench. I don't think we completely put him out in the cold, but I don't think I think we ease him in like we originally intended to do. And if he comes on for the last 20 minutes for the rest of the season, if that's what we feel is the right thing to do for his overall fitness, then that's where I know what you're saying, Liam, in terms of you want him up and to be confident again, ready for next season, but his fitness is obviously paramount, and that's what's hindered him in getting to the levels that we've seen previously.
Yeah, it's not the next 2 months that matter, it's the next 2 seasons that do. So let's get him
absolutely right. And I think we will ultimately benefit from him. I think we will keep him because he's been out. That's the only silver lining to him not having the best of seasons, is that we will keep it. Same with Michael Cooper. I think Cooper is a great goalkeeper at this level, but we won't have the same level of interest we were probably expecting because he hasn't had the best of seasons. So we will keep a really strong goalkeeper for next season. So there's always a silver lining, or we'll try and look for one anyway. Hi guys, Chris got shirty with Rob Staten saying the fans commented about sideways, backwards passing and too much faffing about. But that was a good description. Too much faffing about up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well, we're all entitled to our opinion, and Chrissy ain't always going to like it. But that's what a lot of fans were thinking. And I thought there were a bit too much sideways and backwards yesterday. So, and I love Chris Wilder, but it's not always going to be the perfect performance. And we're certainly here to and allowed to critique it if we don't rate it as a performance as well. John says, guys, in my team, I would use Brooks on the left wing and Peck on the right. He did play that in the under-21 team, plus he has a decent shot. Okay, John, it's different. It's different, I'll give you that. Maury says, just landed, top stream, guys. Positive West Brom could have been 3-1 winners if it wasn't for Davo, Bindon and Tanganga. Definitely the best pairing for me. Hopefully the Leeds tired the hairy Canaries. But just wanted to say personal digs towards Gus and Ty. It needs to stop about their appearance. I don't know, I've made a few jokes, but it's not on. Up the Ramble, up all the Rambles, like and subscribe. Playoffs are done. I just want to see how the summer goes and see what calibre we get. I believe we could be challenging next season. I certainly do too. I certainly do. 3D James says, blame the club and coaches for the shambolic, I assume you mean, shambolic standard of fitness. It's the reason we tire after 70 minutes every game. Defending this only enables it to continue. I don't think anybody's defended fitness levels or coaching in that respect. I think it's a different topic to discuss altogether, to be honest, which we won't have time for tonight. And it's fair. Do we fade too quickly towards the end of games? We've had it previously in this club where fitness hasn't been where it needs to be. We've also had it under Wilder where fitness has been the primary skill set of a lot of our players, where we've gone till the very end. You think back to players like, it always goes back to Baldock and Stevens for me, who for a full 90 minutes would be up and down. I couldn't believe their fitness levels, and George went on a bit longer at the highest level than Ender, but for the engines on those boys, and you see it now in Sariki as well, unbelievable engines. So
don't forget Basham and O'Connell as well.
Absolutely.
Who necessarily won't do that job as a centre-back.
Got right up to the byline at times, and you think,
correct.
Unbelievable. So, James, I think it's a fair discussion to have, and I'm happy to have that on another show probably, because we're well over what we thought we were going to do.
Yeah, we are.
Comments keep flying in. Apologies. I was supposed to go get tea about half an hour ago. I'll be in doghouse because kids should be getting to bed soon. Big T says, very poor yesterday, but we move on to Norwich and see what happens up the Blades, up Ramble on the Road, up the Big T. I'm not sure about all this up yourself. I know a couple of people like that, to be honest. But so Tony is as we all know, our lead Ramble on the Road. And if you have not seen a Ramble on the Road with Big T, you are missing out. So thank you to Big T for everything he does with our short series on Ramble on the Road.
He's Ollie Arblaster's favourite for a good reason.
He is Ollie Arblaster's genuinely Ollie Arblaster's favourite because Ollie Arblaster came up to him and said that.
Correct.
Just lost 3-0 to Leeds, who are now winning the FA Cup, says Tom. 3D James comes back saying, Chris Wilder would never have accepted our current fitness levels or the sideways and backwards passing. His mojo has gone and standards have been allowed to slip, hence why I'm not renewing. Interesting. I want to have this conversation, James. I think it's worth having because I disagree that I think he's frustrated with the standards rather than allowing the standards to happen. I think that's the frustration you see coming out in him, that he wants more out of the players. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I don't think he's lost his mojo. I think quite the opposite, to be honest. I think he's looked more motivated this season than I've seen him in a long, long time. Action Location says, yesterday was very poor. Now for next season, we need to get rid of the rubbish, bring in some new quality and a fit Michael Cooper. We challenge for the top 2. It's going to be a great season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Chris says, I didn't get a notification you had started. Well, sorry about that. If you've got your bell on, which sounds really odd, but if you've got a bell on YouTube, the bell on YouTube, if you tap that, then
just move on, Jim. Jim.
Okay. Cannon frees up. We're a family channel. Cannon frees up Bamford or Campbell, says Maury. As I try and get my bearings, Mr. V, thank you so much for a very generous donation of 5 memberships, I believe it is there. Unbelievable, Mr. V. Another brilliant contributor to the channel, and thank you for everything you do, mate. I'm here to be won over still, says 3D James, but hearing us linked with the old has been like Ryan Kent. I ain't heard that link. Mikey Johnston, who I like, and their ilk. Every transfer window and signing non-physical and non-pacey players just kills hope. Interesting. There's certainly discussions to be had around those. John says, I've had a dead leg on a Saturday, Central Midlands League football, worked it off on a Monday, down pit. Bamford's a big lad, he'll be okay Wednesday. If it's a dead leg, John, I'm not saying he's definitely out. What I'm saying is if we're going worst case scenario and erring outside of caution, I'll be surprised. We'll see. He'll say it in presser, or he might not say it in presser. Well, you can never trust what he says.
In my youth, a long, long time ago, I got a dead leg when I was playing rugby and I was out for 6 weeks.
Really?
It was a severe one. Yeah, so it depends on the severity of it.
Nice. Davis had a good game, says Action Location. Next season, we just pip Spurs for the title. Interesting. 3D James says, baffled why Wilder took Hamer off the right side corners for Burrows after we scored a few set pieces from that side of corners. This is what worries me with Wilder and why I'm not convinced long term. Scott says, everyone complaining that this isn't a Wilder team. Other than 2 or 3, they were Wilder signings. So Wilder has to take a bit of blame for yesterday. Fair. Luke says, we aren't walking anything next season with the teams coming down, and all 3 of last season's relegated teams could still be in this league come the end of May. Yes, they could. That's fair. SBO says, hello to Sheffield United from Manchester City fan. Hello, SBO. Thank you for joining us, pal. James, me too. The outswinging corners were working well a few months ago. Now to in-swingers. Yeah, interesting.
McGuinness isn't playing, and McGuinness was a big target at that point. And Bamford as well when he's on the pitch. So.
Whenever I hear out-swinging corner for Sheffield United, I think of McGuinness now.
Yeah.
Can we sell Cannon now, says Alex. Harsh. Bryce says, please, if you like what you're seeing and you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe. It's free and the easiest way to support the Blades Ramble. Thank you so much. It certainly is, Bryce. Thank you, my mate.
You can also hit a notification bell and you'll get notified of all the upcoming rambles.
Oh, hang on. I've got something here, I think. I'll never press it now. Enjoying the content? Give us a like. A wee like. While you're looking at that, SBO says, Newcastle United lose 4 games in a row in this season against Manchester City. FA Cup, 1-3. Man City, okay. EPL. So Man City have beat Newcastle 4 times. Thank you for that, SBO. You are Man City and spent the most money in recent times in the league. Cheers, Jimbo. Conversation for another time, perhaps. Absolutely, mate. Not adverse to having that conversation, particularly around the fitness and things. I think it's a very fair point. And Brand finishes off tonight with, hope everyone in the chat has their bell on. I love mine. New Ramble merch coming soon. He's absolutely killed me. I should have read that before I read it out. But cheers, Bran. Thank you for that, my mates. Lee, we're going to wrap up there. An hour and a quarter after. We've nearly gone as long as 90 after 90, mate. Some people say we ramble on. But anything you want to say, pal, before I let you go?
No, I mean, it's been a good show. There were obviously a lot to talk about and a lot of people wanted to say after yesterday.
Absolutely.
But again, it's not over until it's over. So let's just get positive and let's try and push
don't
us
believe
through. Mate, I don't think we're going to do it.
You don't
but
believe that?
I'm a Blade. I just want us to get some points, get a result, and let's look at finishing strong.
Glutton for punishment, mate. That's what we are as Blades. Absolute glutton.
40 odd years, Jim. It doesn't get easier.
I know. So my dad says. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you to everybody that's joined us in the chat. Thank you to Lee, as always. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards.
Up the positive, Blades.
Jeez.